I withdrew all support from my ex-husband's family after the divorce. At his mother's retirement party, a lawyer appeared. The retirement party was in full swing when the lawyer walked in. Faye Donovan, the woman who'd called me ungrateful on Facebook for refusing to fund her $15,000 celebration, went white. She didn't know I'd found the contract. Didn't know that the $80,000 she'd insisted was a gift was about to become a legal debt she couldn't escape. Drop your name and where you're watching from in the comments. I randomly choose from subscribers to feature your name as a character in my stories. Subscribe so you don't miss out. I woke at 6 on a Tuesday in early September, 2 years after my divorce from Craig Donovan. My apartment in downtown Minneapolis was small, just a one-bedroom with a balcony barely big enough for the herb garden I'd started. Basil, rosemary, thyme. Each plant a small rebellion against the 12 years I'd spent trying to grow roots in someone else's soil. The coffee maker gurgled, filling the apartment with the smell of dark roast. I ran my fingers over the basil leaves, releasing the scent of summer even though fall was coming. The rosemary was prickly, the thyme soft. I was 42 years old, and for the first time since I was 30, I lived alone. This was my routine now. Simple and mine. No one asking me for anything before I'd even opened my eyes. I worked as a development officer at the university, managing donor relationships and scholarship funds. My salary was $68,000 a year, which sounds like a lot until you subtract taxes, rent, utilities, groceries. I had about $1,200 left each month. $1,200 for everything else. Emergencies, savings, the occasional dinner out. It wasn't the nonprofit work I'd done before marriage, but it was close enough. I helped students who needed it, kids who came from nothing and were trying to build something, kids like I'd been once upon a time. I was 15 when I aged out of the group home. No parents, no siblings, no one waiting for me on holidays. When Craig proposed 7 years later, I didn't just say yes to him. I said yes to Faye, to family dinners at Thanksgiving, to belonging somewhere. I would have done anything to keep that, even when anything meant emptying my bank account. The phone rang at 9:30, right in the middle of a meeting with a potential donor. I let it go to voicemail, but when I checked later, I saw Faye's name. My ex-mother-in-law. The woman who'd hugged me at my wedding 15 years ago and whispered that I was the daughter she never had. The woman who'd spent the last 2 years since my divorce asking me for money. I listened to the voicemail in my car before driving home. Her voice was sweet, syrupy, the kind of sweetness that makes your teeth ache. Sylvia, honey, it's Faye. Craig really needs help with his therapy bills. Just $3,000 this time. I know you're busy with your little job at the college, but family is family, right? Call me back when you get a chance. We really need to talk. Little job? As if 12 years of funding Craig's failed businesses meant nothing. As if the $80,000 I'd given Faye for her rental property venture had disappeared into thin air. I deleted the message without calling back. I'd been deleting her messages for 6 months now, ever since I'd finally said no. That evening, my colleague Reed stopped by my office as I was packing up. He was 45, divorced with 2 kids, and had the kind of steady calm that came from surviving his own family chaos. You okay? He asked, leaning against the doorframe. You've been staring at that email for 10 minutes. I looked down at my screen. Another message from Faye, this one longer. The subject line read, "My retirement party." My ex-mother-in-law wants me to pay for her retirement party, I said. $15,000. Reed's eyebrows went up. That was 10 months of my leftover income. 10 months of saying no to everything except survival. And you said? Reed asked. I said no. We're not family anymore. He nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. Good. Want to grab coffee and talk about it? I thought about saying no, about keeping it all locked up the way I'd learned to do growing up in the group home. But Reed's eyes were kind, and I was so tired of carrying it alone. Yeah, I said. Coffee sounds good. Saturday morning, I woke to my phone buzzing. Not just once or twice. 10 times in 30 seconds. I grabbed it, squinting at the screen through sleep-blurred eyes. Facebook notifications. To Instagram. Twitter. All of them lighting up like a digital fire alarm. I opened Facebook first, still half asleep. Faye's name was at the top of my feed. A post from 6 minutes ago. A photo of her and Craig from my wedding, both of them smiling like they'd won the lottery. I started reading. After everything we gave her. My stomach dropped. The coffee maker sat cold and forgotten on the counter. A family. A home. Love. My hands started shaking. She turned her back on us when we needed her most. I had to read it twice to believe it was real. Some people forget where they came from. My retirement party will go on, but without the person who owes us everything. #betrayed. #family matters. 63 people had already liked it. 42 comments, most of them from people who didn't know me, didn't know anything except what Faye had told them. My hands shook as I scrolled through the comments. So sad when people abandon family. You deserve better, Faye. I can't believe some people. Then I saw one from my boss at the university. Sylvia, is everything okay? Give me a call when you can. I set the phone down on the kitchen counter and stood there in my tiny apartment. The herbs on the balcony needed watering. The morning was ruined. Faye had just told the entire world I was a terrible person. I stared at the post, at the word betrayed. She was rewriting history, making me the villain. Part of me wanted to comment, to defend myself, to tell the truth. But what was the truth? That I'd spent 12 years paying for a family that never really wanted me? That I was so desperate to belong that I let them use me as an ATM? Some truths are too humiliating to say out loud. I thought back to the first Thanksgiving after Craig and I got married. Faye had invited me into the kitchen while the men watched football. She handed me a wooden spoon and said, "Stir this while I tell you about my late husband." For 2 hours, she talked about the man she'd loved and gone through thick and thin with. About how lonely she'd been after he passed. About how happy she was that Craig had found someone like me. "You're the daughter I never had," she'd said, squeezing my hand. I'd believed her. I'd believed it so much that when she asked for money 6 years later, I didn't hesitate. Because that's what daughters do, right? They help their mothers. During the marriage, I'd worked 2 jobs, one at the nonprofit, one freelancing on weekends, just to keep Craig's business afloat. Faye never knew about the weekend shifts. She only saw the checks I wrote. I called Reed. He answered on the second ring, his voice still rough with sleep. "It's 7 in the morning. This better be good." "She posted about me on Facebook," I said. My voice sounded strange, too high and tight. My ex-mother-in-law. She told everyone I abandoned the family. There was a pause. The kind of pause that meant he was thinking hard. "Send me the link," he said finally. "I'll call you back in 5 minutes." He called back in 3. "Sylvia, this is defamation. You need to talk to a lawyer." "I can't afford a lawyer," I said automatically. The divorce had left me with almost nothing. Just my job and this apartment and the $12,000 I'd managed to save over 2 years. "I know someone," Reed said. "Her name is Irene Khalil. She went to law school with my ex-wife. She specializes in family law. Can you meet us for coffee on Monday?" I looked at my phone, at Faye's post still glowing on the screen. 68 likes now. "Yeah," I said. "I can meet on Monday." Sunday morning, I needed to get out of the apartment. The walls felt too close, the silence too loud. I grabbed my keys and walked to the coffee shop 3 blocks away, the one with the good cinnamon rolls and the corner table by the window. Minneapolis in September meant cool mornings and the first hints of autumn. I walked past the sculpture garden, past the university campus where I'd be back at work tomorrow. The coffee shop was quiet when I arrived, just a few early risers reading newspapers and typing on laptops. I ordered a latte and found my usual spot by the window. Opened my book. Tried to focus on the words. 10 minutes later, the door chimed. I looked up out of habit. My blood went cold. Faye Donovan walked in with Craig right behind her. I looked down immediately, hoping they hadn't seen me. Pulled my book closer to my face like it could make me invisible. But Faye had always had a talent for finding me when I least wanted to be found. Well, she said, her voice carrying across the quiet shop. "Look who's here." Every head in the coffee shop turned. I felt my face go hot. "Sylvia," Faye continued, walking toward my table. Craig followed, looking uncomfortable but saying nothing. "Fancy seeing you in a place like this." I set my book down carefully, kept my voice low. "Faye." "Craig." "Good morning." "Is it?" Faye asked. She wasn't keeping her voice low. People were staring now, curious about the drama unfolding in their peaceful Sunday morning. I mean, here you are, drinking your expensive coffee. Her eyes flicked to my latte, while my son suffers. My chest tightened. This was happening. Right here, right now, in front of strangers. "Faye, please," I said quietly. "Not here." "Not here?" Her voice went up a notch. "Then where, Sylvia? You don't answer my calls. You ignore my emails. You've made it very clear you want nothing to do with us." I could feel the weight of the other customers' attention. An elderly woman at the next table had lowered her newspaper. A young couple near the counter had stopped mid-conversation. "That's not fair," I said, still trying to keep my voice down. "Fair?" Faye laughed, sharp and bitter. "You want to talk about fair? We gave you everything. A family, a home, love. And this is how you repay us?" My hands were shaking. I gripped my coffee cup to steady them. "I paid for everything," I said. The words came out harder than I intended. Faye's eyes narrowed. She was enjoying this, I realized. She wanted a scene. She wanted witnesses. "You were an orphan, Sylvia," she said, and the word hit like a slap. "You came from nothing. We took you in. We gave you somewhere to belong." The elderly woman made a small sound, something between sympathy and disapproval. I couldn't tell which one of us it was directed at. "And I gave you $150,000 over 12 years, I said. Faye's smile didn't waver. "Gifts, Sylvia. Gifts that you gave willingly. Family helps family. That's what family does." "It wasn't a gift," I said. My voice was steady now, cold. "It was a loan." "A loan?" Faye's laugh was louder now, performed for the audience. "You have no proof of that. You're making things up to justify your selfishness." I stood up, gathered my book and my purse. The other customers were openly watching now, no pretense of minding their own business. "Actually," I said, looking Faye directly in the eye, "I do." I walked past her, past Craig, who still hadn't said a word, past the staring strangers who would probably gossip about this for weeks. My legs felt weak, but I kept walking, out the door, down the sidewalk, around the corner to where my car was parked. I got in, locked the doors, and then, finally, I let myself cry. Not loud, angry sobs. Just quiet tears that I couldn't hold back anymore. 10 minutes passed. Maybe 15. My phone buzzed with a text from Reed. "You okay?" I thought about the look on Faye's face, the satisfaction in her eyes as she wielded my past like a weapon. The way Craig had stood there silent, letting his mother tear me down in public. I typed back, "I need help. I can't do this alone anymore." Reed's response came immediately. "You're not alone. I'll call Irene." Monday afternoon, I sat across from Irene Khalil in the same coffee shop where Faye had humiliated me the day before. This time, I'd chosen a back table, away from the windows, away from anyone who might recognize me. Irene was 48, with sharp eyes and silver streaking through her black hair, pulled back in a neat bun. She wore a dark blazer and carried a leather briefcase that looked expensive. Professional. Competent. Everything I needed right now. Reed had introduced us, then stepped back to let us talk. He sat at the next table with his own coffee, close enough if I needed him, but giving us space. "Tell me everything," Irene said, pulling out a yellow legal pad. "Every dollar you gave them. Every promise they made. Every lie they told." I pulled out my phone and opened my email. My hands were steadier today. Anger had burned through the shame. I've been keeping records, I said. Every time Faye asked for money after the divorce, I saved the message. I handed her my phone. She scrolled through 52 emails spanning 2 years. Her expression didn't change, but I saw her jaw tighten. Therapy bills for Craig. Tuition for a granddaughter named Emma who didn't exist. I checked. Craig had no children from other relationships. House payments. Car repairs. Medical bills. All of it adding up to more than $50,000 in requests I'd refused. This is financial harassment, Irene said quietly. She looked up from the phone. And that Facebook post, that's defamation. But we need more if you want to do anything beyond a cease and desist letter. I took a breath. This was the part one wasn't sure about. The part I'd half forgotten, until yesterday, until Faye had pushed me too far. During the marriage, I gave Faye $80,000 for her rental property business, I said. It was in 2010. Craig told the divorce court it was a gift, but it wasn't. Irene leaned forward, suddenly very focused. What was it? A loan, I said. I signed something. A contract. My boss at the nonprofit where I worked, she made me promise to always get everything in writing. She said family is where people exploit you the most, because you trust them the most. I never forgot that. What kind of contract? Irene asked. A promissory note, I think, I said, trying to remember. It had been so long ago. Faye signed it. I signed it. We got it notarized at the bank. Where is it now? That was the problem. The contract that could save me might be lost forever. I don't know, I admitted. I lost it in the move after the divorce. I packed in a hurry, threw things in boxes. I haven't seen it since. Irene tapped her pen against the legal pad, thinking. Where would you have kept important documents, she asked. Before the divorce, I mean. I closed my eyes, trying to remember. The house Craig and I had owned. The home office where I'd paid bills and managed our finances. The filing cabinet. The desk drawer. Wait, I said. My eyes snapped open. I had a safety deposit box at the bank. For really important things. Birth certificate, passport, the deed to the house before the foreclosure. When's the last time you opened it? Before the divorce, I said. Maybe 4 years ago? Irene smiled. It was the smile of someone who just found the key to a locked door. Do you know why notarization is so important? She asked. I shook my head. It makes it official? More than that, Irene said. A notarized promissory note is a legally binding contract. In Minnesota, creditors can place a lien on assets, including retirement accounts, to collect unpaid debts. That signature and that seal, they could save you $95,000. I stared at her. That much? With 5% annual interest compounded over 14 years, Irene pulled out a calculator. $95,247. The number made my head spin. I'd given Faye $80,000 and forgotten about it. Let Craig claim it was a gift. Let myself be steamrolled in the divorce because I was too exhausted to fight. Can you get to the bank tomorrow? Irene asked. Tuesday morning, I stood in the small private room at First National Bank, staring at a metal box I'd last opened 4 years ago. The bank employee had handed me the key with a polite smile and left me alone. The box was cold against my palms. I lifted the lid slowly, the hinges creaking from years of neglect. Inside were documents from another life. My marriage certificate, yellowed at the edges. The deed to the house Craig and I had owned before the foreclosure, before his third business failure had cost us everything. Old tax returns bound with a rubber band that crumbled when I touched it. I pulled them out one by one, setting them on the table. My hands were shaking. What if it wasn't here? What if I had thrown it away in the chaos of leaving? What if Faye was right and I had no proof? And then, at the bottom, I saw it. A single sheet of paper, crisper than the others. White, not yellow. I picked it up. Read the header. Promissory note. Business loan agreement. My breath caught. It was here. It was really here. Lender, Sylvia Reeves. Borrower, Faye Donovan. Amount, $80,000. $80,000. Purpose, business investment and rental property venture. Interest rate, 5%, 5% annually, compounded. Repayment terms, due upon written request from lender. Date, June 15, 2010. 2 signatures at the bottom. Mine, careful and neat. Faye's, a sprawling cursive that took up half the line. And there, in the bottom right corner, the notary seal. Official. Legal. Undeniable. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands, took a photo of the document, making sure the signatures and seal were visible. Sent it to Irene. She called before I'd even left the private room. Sylvia. Her voice was controlled, but I could hear the excitement underneath. This is it. This is exactly what we need. So it's real? I asked. It's valid? More than valid, Irene said. This is a textbook promissory note? Signed by both parties. Notarized. With 2 witnesses. Faye can't claim it was a gift. She can't claim she didn't know what she was signing. This is airtight. I looked down at the document in my hands. 14 years old. A piece of paper I'd almost forgotten about. The evidence that could change everything. What happens now? I asked. Now we file a debt collection claim, Irene said. And we put a lien on her assets. What kind of assets? There was a pause. When Irene spoke again, I could hear the smile in her voice. Faye's retirement party, she said. When did you say it was? Saturday, I said. 2 weeks from now. Perfect timing. 2 weeks later, I stood in my apartment getting ready for work, trying not to think about what was happening across town. The retirement party would start at 2. Irene had the plan. Reed had offered to go with me, but I'd said no. I didn't need to be there. I didn't want to be there. This wasn't about confrontation or revenge. This was about documentation, about legal rights, about the $80,000 Faye had borrowed and never repaid. My phone buzzed at 1:45. A text from Irene. Leaving for the venue now. You good? I typed back. I'm good. Let me know how it goes. The community center where Faye's party was being held wasn't far from the university. I knew the building. I'd been to events there before. Big enough for 50 people, small enough to feel intimate. Irene had explained the plan over coffee 3 days ago. She would arrive early, before the speeches. Find a seat near the front. Wait until the celebration was in full swing. Then, during the toasts, she would stand up. Walk to where Faye was sitting. And hand her the debt collection notice. Legal. Public. Unavoidable. At exactly 3 o'clock, my phone rang. Irene. It's done, she said. I sat down on my couch, suddenly needing to. What happened? The party was already going when I arrived, Irene said. Faye was at the front table with about a dozen people. Former co-workers, I assume. Big banner on the wall. Congratulations, Faye. 35 years of service. Cake, flowers, the whole 9 yards. I could picture it. Faye in her element, being celebrated, being praised. I waited until someone finished giving a toast, Irene continued. Then I stood up and walked over to her table. Everyone was watching. I think they thought I was going to give a speech. What did you say? I said, Faye Donovan? She looked up at me, confused. Didn't recognize me. I handed her the envelope and said, I'm Irene Khalil, attorney representing Sylvia Reeves. I have a document for you. I closed my eyes, trying to imagine Faye's expression. She opened it right there? I asked. Right there, Irene confirmed. In front of everyone. I watched her face change as she read it. White first, then red. Her hand started shaking. What did she say? She said, What is this? I told her. It's a debt collection notice. You owe Sylvia Reeves $95,247 for an unpaid business loan from June 2010. The amount includes 14 years of compound interest at 5% annually. There was a pause. I could hear voices in the background on Irene's end. She must still be at the venue. Then what? I asked. Then she tried to argue, Irene said. Said it was a mistake. Said it was a gift. I showed her the contract. Pointed to her signature. Pointed to the notary seal. Told her we'd already filed a lien against her retirement account. How did she react? She went silent, Irene said. Just stared at the paper. Craig was there. He tried to take the document from her, started reading it. His face went the same shade of white. What about the other guests? They were confused at first, Irene said. But word spread quickly. I heard someone whisper, she borrowed money from her ex-daughter-in-law? Someone else said, and never paid it back? By the time I left, the party had pretty much fallen apart. People were leaving. Faye was crying. Craig was trying to calm her down. I should have felt triumphant. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. Thank you, I said to Irene. For everything. One more thing, Irene said. Before I left, I made a brief statement to the room. I apologized for the interruption. Then I explained that Faye Donovan had spent 2 years harassing my client, demanding money she had no right to, and publicly defaming her on social media. I said this was simply the collection of a legitimate debt. How did people react? Most of them looked uncomfortable, Irene said. A few looked sympathetic. To you, not Faye. One woman came up to me afterward and said she'd been wondering about that Facebook post. Said it seemed off. Said she was glad to know the truth. After I hung up with Irene, I sat on my couch for a long time. The afternoon sun slanted through the windows. The herbs on the balcony needed watering. My phone sat silent in my hand. No calls from Faye. No texts from Craig. No angry messages demanding I drop the claim. Just silence. The kind of silence that comes after a storm. 3 days later, a letter arrived from Craig. I almost didn't open it. Almost threw it away unopened. But curiosity won. Inside was a single page, handwritten. Craig's messy scrawl that I'd once found endearing. Sylvia, I'm sorry. I didn't know about the contract. Mom told me you'd given her the money as a wedding gift for us. I didn't know it was a loan. I should have asked more questions. I should have stood up for you more. I'm sorry. I read it twice. Looking for sincerity. Looking for manipulation. Finding only the same weakness that had defined our marriage. Craig had always let his mother lead, had always taken the path of least resistance. I folded the letter, put it back in the envelope, not because I forgave him, but because I was done letting their choices define my present. 3 weeks after the retirement party, I sat on my balcony with a cup of coffee, watching the sunrise turn the sky from gray to gold. The court had accepted the promissory note without question. The lien on Faye's retirement account was official. Her lawyer had tried to argue it was a gift, tried to claim the statute of limitations had passed, tried everything. But the contract was airtight. The judge had ordered her to pay in full within 90 days or face wage garnishment. Faye had called 17 times in the first week. I'd blocked her number after the third call. Craig had sent 4 more letters. I'd filed them away unread. The basil needed watering. The rosemary was getting leggy, would need trimming this weekend. Small things. Normal things. Mine. Reed came out onto the balcony with his own cup of coffee and sat down beside me. We'd been seeing each other for 2 weeks now. Nothing official yet, just coffee and conversation and the occasional dinner. But it was nice. Easy, in a way nothing with Craig had ever been. How are you feeling? Reed asked. Light, I said. Like I've been carrying something heavy for years, and I finally put it down. He nodded, sipping his coffee. Any regrets? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I thought about Faye's face at the retirement party. Pale and shocked. I thought about Craig's apology letter, too little and too late. I thought about the 12 years I'd spent trying to earn a place in a family that never really wanted me. No, I said finally. I spent 12 years trying to earn love, by giving money, by sacrificing, by proving I was worthy. I gave them pieces of myself I'll never get back. I'm done earning. I'm done proving. I'm just done. Reed reached over and took my hand. His palm was warm. What now? He asked. Now I live, I said. For myself. On my terms. I took a sip of coffee. It was still warm, the bittersweetness exactly right. Looking back now, I understand what I couldn't see then. I thought family was something you earned, by giving, by sacrificing, by proving your worth over and over again. But real family doesn't make you earn it. Real family doesn't weaponize your past against you. Real family doesn't use your vulnerabilities as leverage. If you're reading this and you recognize yourself in my story, if someone is using your history against you, demanding money because you once needed them, know this. You don't owe anyone your peace. Not even family. Especially not family. Document everything. Keep records. Get contracts. Protect yourself legally. Because kindness without boundaries isn't kindness at all. It's just self-destruction in disguise. And remember, family isn't who you're born to or who you marry into. It's who earns the right to stay. Have you or someone you know been pressured to give money to family as a gift? Share your story in the comments after you finish watching. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe. Your support means everything. The coffee was still warm when I finished it. The morning was quiet, the city waking up below my balcony. The herbs swayed in the breeze, releasing their scent into the cool air. And for the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged.